Should Nick Sogard make the Red Sox opening day roster? What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Red Seat Radio. My name is Corbin. Thank you very much for clicking on this video. And hey, we're only 2 exact weeks away from Red Sox opening day, guys. Baseball is right around the corner, and the Red Sox, they got a lot of work to do up until then. They got to figure out exactly what this roster is going to look like, and one of the more interesting parts of what this roster could look like is what this bench is going to look like. And right now, there's a big battle going on for those 4 bench spots, and there's one dude, in my opinion, who right now is standing out above the rest, and that is Nick Sogard. Can Nick Sogard, or has Nick Sogard done enough to make this opening day roster? Last season, we finally got a taste of what Nick Sogard could be at the major league level. Now, at the plate in 31 games, it wasn't overly productive. The average was there. He was hitting .273, but the on-base percentage was at .326, and the power was missing a bit. And by missing a bit, I mean a pretty decent chunk at .325, which led to an 82 OPS plus, or about 17% below league average production in a smallish sample size of 31 games. Still pretty decent contact numbers, just really not enough extra base hits, as well as really not enough ability to take walks. What really stood out, though, in his first stint in MLB was his versatility. Not only can Sogard hit from both sides of the plate, but in those 31 games, he played every single position in the infield at least once. That's extremely valuable over the course of a season. This is a dude that can play anywhere and platoon for anyone, making him a pretty good Swiss Army knife. And the Red Sox have had some success with Swiss Army knives in the past, especially on their good Red Sox teams. 2018, you had Brock Holt, who was definitely a Swiss Army knife. And in 2021, despite how it ended with the Red Sox, Kike Hernandez was a Swiss Army knife utility guy as well. And he really helped the Red Sox throughout that 2021 season, as well as essentially carried them in the playoffs. And I'm not saying Nick Sogard is going to end up being, what did he call himself, Lil Poppy during the 2025 playoffs for the Red Sox, but Nick Sogard has that potential to be that sort of everyday guy coming off the bench for this Red Sox team. And to me, that makes him a really important part of what the Red Sox could be trying to do here. Now, the question is, what is he going to look like in 2025? Can he do enough this spring to propel himself or force himself onto this big league roster? Well, this was kind of an important spring training. He got his first taste of Major League Baseball. He had some struggles at the big league level. This offseason was about recognizing what went wrong and coming into 2025 having solved that problem. If he could do that, well, there's a pretty big case to be made that Nick Sogard deserves to be on this Red Sox team. And so far this spring, that's exactly what he's doing, because he is standing out in a big way. So far this spring training, and really not an incredibly small sample size spring training wise, 35 plate appearances, he's hitting .333 with a .429 on base percentage and a .600 slug, good for a 1.029 OPS. The power has stood out for sure when you're taking a look at that stat line. He has 2 home runs, 2 doubles, and 6 RBIs. But another thing that's really stood out this spring is he's back to being patient at the plate. One of the things that we talked about with his big league numbers was he's always sort of been this guy who, yeah, he's going to strike out about 20% of the time, according to what he's done his entire minor league career, but he's also going to take a pretty decent amount of walks. He didn't really do that at the big league level in his first appearance. However, this spring, he's showing that capability is still there. 5 walks to 8 strikeouts. Again, still striking out a pretty decent amount, but certainly getting on base a lot more than he was last season. Now, obviously, spring training is much different than the MLB regular season. Right now, according to his quality opponent statistics, he's facing mostly between AA and AAA guys, so we have to take these statistics with a gigantic grain of salt, but you talk about, okay, who's standing out so far this spring? Nick Sogard's name is going to come up every single time. And again, this is a guy who now has made adjustments at the plate, or has shown that he can make adjustments at the plate so far this spring. We're talking about a guy who could play anywhere on the field and hit from either side of the plate, and all of a sudden he becomes a really valuable and interesting player for the Boston Red Sox. The question is really, where does he fit in on this bench? We do know one thing, and that's Nick Sogard isn't going to be fighting for a regular spot in this lineup, right? We know he's not going to be the starting shortstop or second baseman or third baseman or wherever you want to put him, right? We know that the Red Sox have their sort of 9 guys, at least most of them, ready to go for opening day. What this means is that he's fighting for that bench role, and right now, that's pretty stiff competition. You've got Rob Refsnyder, who's definitely making the team. They have to have at least one catcher on the bench, in Narvaez most likely, and what that leaves is 2 spots on this bench for a whole lot of guys this spring training who have stood out. The candidates right now for that bench role are David Hamilton, who's been killing it this spring, Vaughn Grissom, who's shown some promise lately, Romy Gonzalez, who was solid for the Red Sox last year, Trace Thompson, who's been absolutely ridiculous this spring training, Nate Eaton, who's trying his best to keep up with them, and Nick Sogard. You could potentially maybe put Christian Campbell there a little bit, but I'm going to not include him on this list, mostly because I don't think the Red Sox want to bring him up as some sort of utility player. If he does come up, I think it'll try to be in a more everyday role, so I'm not going to include him on this list, but I have seen some people put that out there. So essentially, you've got, 5, 6 guys for 2 different spots. How can Nick Sogard fit his way onto this roster? Well, in my opinion, it depends on 2 different things. One, what do the Red Sox do with Alex Bregman, right? We've heard third base. It feels like it's going to be third base. It could be second base, though. I think that kind of depends on what they end up doing with Masataka Yoshida. He's been hitting really well this spring, but I think a lot of people are assuming the Red Sox are still going to start him on the IL to get his shoulder fully up to speed to be able to play the field as well, which gives them some flexibility come this opening day roster. If that happens, it feels like the answer to this Bregman thing is him playing third base and Rafi DHing until Moss is healthy, and then let all hell break loose when that guy's back and ready to go. Second base kind of opens up a little bit, which means you're probably not going to see David Hamilton on this bench. He's certainly done enough out of the second base options to be your everyday second baseman coming into the season. Vaughn Grissom could end up splitting some time with him as well, so that could potentially be a bench spot taken up by Vaughn Grissom. The second thing is Wilyer Abreu, right? If Wilyer Abreu starts on the IL, you got to have someone fill his spot. Most likely, in my opinion, the easiest answer here is to have Rob Refsnyder start in the outfield for you, but that takes an outfielder off the bench. The good news here with Sogard is that he can play some outfield. Realistically, a lot of the people on this list can play some outfield. Romy Gonzalez played outfield for the Red Sox last season. Nick Sogard's played the outfield in the minors. He's playing the outfield in spring training. You've obviously got Nate Eaton and Trace Thompson as well. So really, what this bench spot is going to boil down to here are 2 spots, right? Because you got to have Narvaez on there. You're going to have Refsnyder, and if he's starting, you're probably going to have Grissom in there to split some time at second base. So you've got 2 spots left where the Red Sox can really have some fun with their bench players. In my opinion, Nick Sogard's done more than enough to earn himself one of those 2 spots, because here's the reality. Trace Thompson has been fantastic for the Red Sox this spring training. Nate Eaton has been fantastic for the Red Sox this spring training. The problem with these guys is that they're only outfielders, right? A guy like Romy Gonzalez and Nick Sogard, those are 2 players who essentially can be everywhere on the field right now. As much as those guys have been impressive, Romy and Nick being on this bench and sort of making it up and having it be Narvaez, Grissom, or Hamilton, depending on the day, Romy Gonzalez and Nick Sogard until Wilyer Abreu comes back, allows you to cover literally every single position on the diamond twice. Let's say Tristan Casas needs a day off. Well, you've got Romy and Nick Sogard, who both have first base experience, who can go over there and play a few games over there. Let's say at the same time, Jarren Duran needs a day off. Well, you can put Romy or Nick Sogard into the outfield, and all of a sudden, you don't have a problem with where your bench is at. Nick Sogard and Romy Gonzalez cover literally every single position on the field. And to me, that has to be the best route for the Red Sox to take, right? Once these guys get healthy, once you get Massa back, once you get Wilyer back, then the real battle begins, because then it becomes, okay, who else is going to be on this bench? And realistically, it comes down to one singular position. It's either going to be Romy Gonzalez and Nick Sogard. In my opinion, this is sort of best man wins, right? You have the opportunity to have both of these guys on your bench come opening day. Allow them to fight for that one spot. Whoever's performing the best by the time that these guys get healthy, that's going to be your utility player. I wouldn't even say infielder, just utility player in general. And that's sort of how this ends up, right? And you can flip-flop these guys throughout the regular season. in my opinion, I think Nick Sogard has a legitimate shot at winning that out. Again, you go back to what makes a really good bench player in Major League Baseball. It's versatility. I don't think there's anyone in this organization right now that's more versatile on the field than Nick Sogard, when you also factor in the fact that he can be a left-handed hitter or a right-handed hitter. And last year at the Major League level, neither were incredibly impressive statistically, but he was able to hit both sides of the plate. He makes the improvements that we are seeing this spring training. He could become one of the most valuable bench pieces the Red Sox have had in a little bit. And in my opinion, he absolutely deserves that opportunity. Now, I don't know which way the Red Sox end up leaning at the end of the day. I think right now, Romy has the edge because he has proven he could be more productive at the Major League level. But in my opinion, if we're talking just strictly ceilings, it's Nick Sogard. Moral of the story is here, I think Nick Sogard's one of the more underrated pieces of this Red Sox organization. I think a lot of people are going to see why this season, especially if the adjustments he made this spring can carry over into Major League Baseball. And I think right now, given the roster situation and what Nick Sogard has done this spring, he's earned himself a spot on this opening day roster. But that's just my opinion. So let me know in the comment section down below, what do you guys think? You take a look at everyone fighting for this bench role. You take a look at what Nick Sogard has done. Has he done enough in your eyes to be a bench player for the Boston Red Sox, either opening day or at some point this season? Let me know all your thoughts in the comment section down below. As always, if you made it to the end of this video, do me a favor, make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're new here, we talk Red Sox content almost every single day. Also, make sure you guys have hit the like button on this video as well. Helps these videos out a ton, and it's the best way to let me know you're enjoying the content. Don't forget, if you guys want to listen instead of watch these episodes, best way to do that is to head over to your favorite podcasting app and look up Red Seat Radio. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one, and I will see you in the red seats.